I see it day in and day out. 520 MCATs, 4.0 GPAs, zero clinical experience, zero shadowing, have no ability to give a solid reason why they want to be a doctor. eShadowing was supposed to be a ear, nose, and throat specialist, head and neck surgical oncology, but they're not here. So it looks like it's just me and you tonight, which is perfectly fine. We get to hang out and talk about anything you want. I'm disappointed. I checked in with this physician last week and we were good to go, but that's okay. As a surgical oncologist, ENT, head and neck oncology surgeon, maybe he was busy. Maybe he's in surgery, but that's all right. I'm sorry, Tatiana, we can't talk about more surgery. It is Memorial Day, but they knew that when they signed up. The one-on-one with Dr. Mike. I'm not Dr. Mike. Wrong doctor. That's okay. So get your wife on for eShadowing. Yeah, she actually doesn't practice anymore, so we won't get her on for eShadowing. Raise your hand. Come on. We'll just do a bunch of Q&A today. We'll count this as a session, so you can get the hour. It's like job shadowing or interview shadowing. What do you call that specific thing? But you can come on, Skylar, if you're watching this for the quiz. Just do one question, like a yes, no, like Dr. Gray is awesome. Yes. We don't need to do anything special for the quiz. Get you out of here a little early. We'll just have some fun tonight. So I got a couple people joining. Again, if you want to raise your hand. Can I ask Alexander Schuper? He's a neurosurge resident. I'm only asking attending physicians to be on, no residents today. Hello, Rachel.
Hi, can you hear me? I have a question about personal statements, if that's okay. I'd like to include a personal experience with a loved one who became ill and eventually passed away due to their illness. And I'm wondering, are there any common pitfalls or things that should be avoided when you're talking about these really personal experiences?
No, I don't think so. Do you have my personal statement book?
No, I don't have the book yet.
Well, I would start there, of course. I don't think there's any really huge pitfalls other than make sure that you're telling your story, not just their story.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
It's your story to tell.
Thank you.
Yep. Shane, hello. For all of you who are on, if you haven't picked up my new book, The Premed Playbook Guide to the Medical School Application Process, that's a new one. Thank you for whoever, Shivam, who said congrats on that. Thursday, I think, is when the USA Today bestsellers list comes out. So fingers crossed. We'll see. We'll see if I'm on the list. What's going on, Shane?
Not much. What's new with you?
Nothing. Hanging out, getting stood up on Memorial Day. But hey. That's how it rolls.
It had to happen sometime, you know. Yeah. You've been doing a good job coordinating this so far. So I had a question about. So I'm applying MD PhD, and I had a question about the significant research experience essay. I really like the idea of like putting stories in here, but the way that the prompt is written, it seems like they really just want like a really dry, boring list of all the research you've done. Do you have any advice for approaching it while still making it engaging?
So I think stories for all of you watching / listening, The MD PhD application has 2 extra essays. The essay for the why do you want to be an MD PhD, basically. And that's what, 4,500 characters or something like that?
3,000.
Yeah, 3,000. It's always smaller than I think it is. And then the MD PhD, the research essay is 10,000 characters, right? And so I like the research, the MD PhD, like why do you want to be an MD PhD one to be very similar storytelling to why do you want to be a doctor? And then for the research essay, you can tell a little bit of stories. It doesn't have to just be, I study, I can't even think of any off the top of my head. C. elegans, right? That's the one everyone studies. You don't have to just be super boring. You could maybe tell a little bit of story, how you were introduced to it. You can tell a little bit of story potentially on some learning pains, some growing pains with the research, what you've taken away from the research in terms of, stop, who's clicking with this stuff? Stop playing, people. Yes, with great power comes great responsibility. Turn off the whiteboard. And then so just as best you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Talia.
Hey, Dr. Gray, can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. Sorry, my webcam is broken. Otherwise, I would love to be face to face.
That's all right.
So my question was kind of regarding personal statements. I have my personal statement pretty much all buckled up and edited. Although my last few passes at it, I am kind of rethinking my conclusion. And so I was wondering if we could just kind of talk personal statement conclusion and what you think would be best to be in there, what doesn't belong in there. I've read your book a few times and I have your new book as well, but I just wanted to kind of hone in on specifically the conclusion. Yeah, I've got your back, Dr. Gray. But the conclusion specifically. All
right. So it makes me sad that you have 2 of my books and neither of them have given you the confidence that you're where you need to be. So conclusion in my mind is kind of aspirational. Where do you kind of see yourself? What are you hoping to accomplish as a physician? Too many students use it as a recap of like, well, if it wasn't for experiences with Dr. Johnson and with Sally and well, blah, 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 right? Just recapping all of the stories and experiences they've already talked about in the rest of the personal statement. To me, those are wasted characters. The best thing that I enjoy, that I recommend, is to really give the reviewer, the reader, some inclination into what you hope to accomplish so that they can go, okay, if I have Tali here, if we give her a diploma, what is she going to do with it? And that's where the aspirational kind of like, as a physician, I will do X, Y, and Z and blah, blah, blah. One question I like to think about is like, how do you want your patients to think about you in the future? What do you want them to say on your retirement day?
Oh, that's a good little kind of self-experiment. So as it stands right now, I have it mostly aspirational, as you're saying. I just, reading it through a few more times, I wasn't sure if it was a little out of the blue. Like, I go from talking mostly about patient experiences that I'm having that have, continued to water my seed. And then at the end, it's like, this is what I want to do. This is what I plan to be. That's how it should be. Okay, great.
I recommend it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then just a quick follow-up question that I, have been kind of ping-ponging around different advisors. One of the people I'm getting a letter of recommendation from, he was a doctor at a clinic I worked at that neither of us work at anymore. He's a contracted physician. So the company that contracts him to various hospitals, he doesn't work directly for them. So he doesn't have a professional letterhead through them and he can't use theirs. He already asked. I made him a professional letterhead. Will that be sufficient?
Did you email me this or did you?
I did. I DM'd you on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing this. So I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. I called AMCAS.
I don't understand this requirement to be on professional letterhead. Not everyone is like, the professional letterhead is so like 1980s.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, but Yeah. What did they say?
Cool. I called AMCAS and the guy seemed a little bit uncertain if it was going to be fine or not. He said, go for it. It should be fine. I just wanted to get a second opinion.
Yeah.
The way that I made it, I mean, it looks like it came from an institution, so I'm hoping that there won't be any red flags about it. I know that it's a question that's come up in other chat rooms, and I wanted to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine. It's very elitist of like, oh, your letter of recommendation isn't good unless it's on fancy letterhead. Like,
it doesn't have gold leaf on it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and I'm super happy to be here. But I'll let you get to other people's questions.
All right, it's good job taking that initiative with creating your own letterhead too. That's good.
Thank you, sir.
Claire, hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to be here. So I have your book. I'm obviously very excited about it. I had
Hold it up. I'll sign it.
So I had 2 questions. So I talk about me getting diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome as like what was my main seed for medicine and being exposed to healthcare.
Yep.
But I'm worried that might be a red flag because it does mean like a lifetime of chronic pain, even though it is well managed.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, what I always say is you have to tell your truth. And if that's your truth, that's your truth. You have to tell it. And so are there potential ways to hedge a little bit with your language about what happened? Do you need to use specific diagnoses? Do you have to talk about chronic pain? Do you have to talk about all of that to get across the heart of the message? And so potentially thinking about it in those terms. And then if you feel like you have to, then try to just make it known that, again, part of the reason I love your pictures in the background with your pelvis and shoulder and hand and whatever else is there.
Oh, thank you. I drew those.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah, I'm an art minor.
Nice. The extra piece to add potentially is just to make it known that part of the reason why you're going down this path is because of the success in the treatment and being cared for, etc.
That's exactly what I get into in my statement. And then my other question was, is it also a red flag that I started as an art major? Because I didn't realize my full potential.
Nope.
I was okay.
Nope.
Because I'm interested in medicine when I was diagnosed at 14, but I just didn't think I thought the diagnosis was going to prevent me from doing so much. So I just stuck with art. Yep. But I realized we do so much more.
That's your story.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Daniel.
Hi, Dr. Gray. Can you see me?
I can.
Great. So I'm Daniel, 29-year-old, doing my DIY post-bac, and I had a question for you about I have a million questions, but I'll keep it to one about my military service.
I want to know what the Hebrew behind you says.
Oh, so I was also in the Israeli army.
Nice.
So it says, Kemelman Hayakar. I was a sniper and my platoon got me this.
Wow.
So it's Kemelman Hayakar, Adir Kemelman, that's my last name. Batzlacha be'ezrachut, Zaken Sa'ir Shalanu. So I was the oldest guy by far. So Zaken Sa'ir means our old newbie, because I was a junior in the platoon, but I was the oldest guy. Tamid Tia Ginger Sarut Belibeno, you will always be our crazy ginger in our hearts.
Nice.
So, as you know, the riots in Gaza, we would have to shoot people. So it says, even though you didn't blast the knee, you walked the entire path with us. You know, with love and respect, the sniper platoon.
Wow.
Yeah, and I noticed on your arm, Dr. Gray, you have something as well. I can't really see it so well. But
I have a little Hebrew. It says, knowledge is power.
Cool.
Yeah, obviously touchy subject with everything going on between Israel and Palestine. Obviously, I'm glad there's a ceasefire. Hopefully everyone in Palestine is getting the care they need. All the hospital are getting everything they need, et cetera, et cetera.
And that's my, that's my, from the U.S. Army, my little box in the corner.
Yeah, nice. All right. Let's get off of this subject. Some people don't like this, but
my question. Okay, so when I was in the Army, I was a combat lifesaver in addition to my role as a machine gunner.
It's a weird dichotomy, right? Shoot people, save people. But it
Yeah.
is what it is.
So I'm not sure really how to write it in my application because it was a secondary duty, and while I had training on like emergency first aid trauma stuff, I basically applied Band-Aids, and I only did it part-time. But my real question is, do I list it under military service, or is this a paid employment? I mean, paid clinical hours.
No, you would do it under military.
Okay.
Yeah, and just talk about what your role was, and potentially having two activities. That's one for the non-medical stuff, and then one for medical stuff.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Gray. I actually DM'd you. I'm getting your book soon.
Nice. All right.
Yes.
Thanks,
you.
Daniel.
Thank you so much.
Yep. All right, Alex.
Yo.
Hello.
Hi. Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
How are you?
I'm good. What's up?
So I am a Canadian. Well, I'm graduating high school this year, and I'm about to go to university. I was thinking about going to be a doctor, but I heard that the Canadian medical school are difficult to get into. But I have a question about clinical experience and shadowing. So my question about clinical experience is that I'm a youth mentor for a pediatric hospital in my province, and I would like to know if that will count as clinical experience.
So I don't know how it works for the Canadian application. Typically,
to clarify, I am applying to both.
Okay.
Canadian and
Okay. So for Canadian schools, all right, I need to kick someone off because they clearly are not very fun here. For Canadian, most of the Canadian applications are into the applications are for each school. The Ontario medical schools have an application service themselves. For the U.S., so I don't know how those work, but for U.S., typically things that you do in high school don't count for your application.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna continue doing this for into my university as well.
Yeah, if you continue it, that's great.
Yeah, and for shadowing, how do I get that experience as a Canadian wanting to apply to the U.S.?
Ask that again.
If I want to apply to the U.S. school, how do I get shadowing as a Canadian, especially if I want to?
Yeah, as a Canadian, typically shadowing and clinical experience is really hard to get. So I would worry less about it. Most of the shadowing that Canadians get is usually through personal connections. So if you know anybody, but some provinces it's illegal. So it's just
what do I do if I want to shadow a DO?
You apply to DO schools.
If I want to shadow one.
You just got to find one to shadow. You just got to ask. Okay. And it's the same problem that the U.S. students have is finding someone to shadow. So you're not alone in that struggle, but it's uniquely harder in Canada.
Yeah.
All right. Good luck.
You.
Yeah. Ro.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. It took so much effort for me to not continue going row, row, row. No.
I get that more times than you would imagine, actually.
I'm sure you do, which is why I had to stop myself, but then I had to talk about how I stopped myself, which is just as bad as saying it in the first place.
Right.
But anyway.
That's okay. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So I have a few questions. I'll try to keep them limited. So one of my biggest things is I am I'm a Chicago resident, and I kind of want to stay in like the Illinois, around Chicago, around Milwaukee. So I'm mostly applying to like basically all the medical schools in Illinois, basically all of the medical schools in Wisconsin, which is like 2. But should I even apply to schools that I'm not interested in like traveling location wise? Or do you find that students who just kind of like take the advice of like applying to 15 or so medical schools or whatever the recommendation is, often find that they love the area that they go to, and thus are like just more satisfied because they got in? Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
So my general recommendation for applying to medical schools is really doing that deep research into location and everything else. So obviously you're super busy in medical school, and don't have a ton of time to go explore the nightlife and the scenery, but you do have time. And if you're going to be miserable for 4 years because you grew up in Southern California and now you're in Buffalo where you have lake effect snow, that you're in 6 feet of snow all year round, like that's not fun. And so you really need to do that research to figure out from a location standpoint, do you suffer from seasonal affective disorder, right? And are you going to go to the Pacific Northwest where it's not super sunny and you're going to be miserable all the time? So definitely I recommend looking at location and finding locations that you are going to be excited to be at, and then looking at schools on top of that.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. And then I just have another question. So I did read your pre-med playbook on the personal statement. It has been a lifesaver for me. It's wonderful.
Good. Leave a review on Amazon.
I will. I have just a question. I know it was in your book, but I have as part of my personal statement, I found that it was super impactful. I had a patient experience where they were a oncology patient, and they were saying like, oh, I had a terrible experience with this physician, and it really hit me. I didn't realize that it was so bad until I had an experience with a wonderful physician who cared for me and showed me compassion. Is that like coming across as too like goofy?
I typically don't recommend talking about negative experiences. Okay. And when I say that, I don't mean like avoid talking about the negative experience. Just don't talk about the negative aspect of the experience. You can talk about needing to be cared and having a learning experience from that and taking away something without saying that doctor was horrible.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. Vivian.
Hi, Dr. Gray. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so I'm currently a senior in high school and I'll be graduating next Saturday, and I'm working on improving my ACT score to qualify for the 7-year Bsmd accelerated program at University of South Florida. So I was just wondering what your opinions are on that program, and if you've worked with any like pre-med students getting into medical school like on that track. So
I typically don't talk a lot about the accelerated Bsmd programs because I don't really like them. How old are you?
I'm 18.
So, and you are applying this year, or you're a freshman now and you have to apply soon?
So I need to qualify for the program, like with my stats by the end of June with my orientation. So I have like the summer only, but I'm like trying to like debate if it's worth it or if I should just do like the normal track.
Yeah, my general take, and this is just broad, my broad sweeping take for Bsmd programs is that what are you in a rush for? Right? Mm-hmm. There's 4 years of college, and yes, from a financial standpoint, having one less year of college makes good financial sense. Public schools like USF, if you're in state, not a huge financial burden. And if you have bright futures because you're a state resident, that's how I went to college at University of Florida. I was a bright future scholar, so I had 100% of my tuition paid for, which was amazing. I typically am a fan of not rushing it. Get your experiences being a student, growing up, learning life lessons, getting clinical experience and shadowing, and really doing the due diligence that you need to do for yourself to make sure that you're on the right track and you're not just rushing it because of some childhood fantasy, and then apply to medical school like everyone else. Now, obviously, there are benefits to a Bsmd program, which is typically a 3+4, where your senior year of college is your first year of medical school. Besides the financial aspect is you don't have to stress about typically the applications. And I don't know what USF's is, if you still have an MCAT requirement. Obviously, there's typically a GPA requirement. And that sometimes takes the load off. It's really an individual decision. And for me, just in general, I'm just not a fan of them because there's so many students who get to a certain point and they're like, oh, wait, like, I don't want to do this. I need to do something else. Or the stress and pressure of trying to get it all in 3 years and trying to hit that target MCAT score to qualify to actually get into the medical school is just debilitating. So it's really a personal decision for you.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, the main reason that I wanted to go into the program is because I'm in the IB program now, so I'll have a year of credits already done. So I already doing undergrad for 3 years, so I figured like if I have a better chance at getting into their Morsani med school, then I should be in the program. But I guess it's a personal choice. But I have another quick question because I've been shadowing a plastic surgeon in the OR for 2 years now, and I know that those hours don't count. But I was wondering if they start counting once I graduate high school, or they start counting like the beginning of my undergrad.
Typically, once you graduate high school. Now, shadowing is a little bit interesting because it's something you're going to continue to do in undergrad. And typically, what we say is things that kind of you've done for a long time, including some in high school. You can count those hours. It's like this gray area. A lot of what we talk about with don't include high school is don't include the one thing that you did in high school that was only like 1 week in high school and you never continued it throughout. Avoid that kind of stuff.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Bye. Mariana.
Hi, Dr. Gray. Can you hear me?
I can.
Hi. I actually had messaged you about this or made a question, I guess, in one of your live videos on Instagram, but I would like some more clarification, if you will. Sure. So my situation's a little bit complex. I am 28, so obviously non-traditional. I served in the United States Marine Corps. I had started college, dropped out, went to the United States Marine Corps, started picking up back pre-med, and I've had 4 kids in the span of 6 years or so. So
God bless you.
Yes, God bless me. My hands are full. So how too little is our extracurricular activities? Because I guess like my main clinical experience that I currently have is caring for my husband post-surgery, which that was for like about a month and a half. And I do have clinical experience pending. I'm going to be volunteering at the hospice center near here. And as far as shadowing, I'm obviously doing the eShadowing as much as I can, but I've been trying to juggle a million things. My husband was hospitalized for about a month and a half at the beginning of this year. So I was stuck with 3 children, full-time classes, still doing the eShadowing and just every other little demand of life. So
when are you applying?
This year.
And no other clinical experience besides that?
No, I just have the hospice pending, and I am trying to apply this year because my husband's actually still active duty. So for like a family perspective, like this is the best year for me to apply. I do think I have the grades for it. Like last semester, somehow I had a baby in the middle of the semester with my husband hospitalized and 3 kids, and I still pulled off a 4.0 GPA. But
nice.
It's just I keep getting like kind of like the imposter syndrome because I do not have a lot of extracurriculars. I have like 2,000 hours of volunteering with Toys for Tots, but as far as like shadowing and clinical, I feel a little bit apprehensive about that.
Do you have any shadowing? In-person shadowing?
No, I had it set up and then COVID happened. So they told us no.
Yeah. So for me, you're one of those edge cases where you didn't have anything going into COVID and you expected to get something during COVID. But at the end of the day, have you proven to yourself that this is what you want? And the answer to me is no. If you don't have any clinical experience, you don't have any shadowing, all you're doing is theoretically saying, I think I want to be a doctor. I don't really know what it's all about. I watch TV shows. I've talked to maybe some. I've watched some eShadowing. I watched some YouTube videos. But you don't have any in-person dealing with people and their pain and suffering and dealing with patients' pain and suffering. The doctors are suffering and are in pain too with dealing with insurance companies and all that fun stuff. So it gives me a lot of pause to say, oh yeah, apply to medical school. Because how can you say that you want to be a doctor? What do you have to lean on to support that decision?
Well, I had started volunteering at the ER at the Veterans Hospital in Tampa. And I had kind of gotten some clinical interaction there. But they obviously had to put a pause on the ER volunteering as well. It's been very difficult, especially with the kids, like to get the in-person stuff. So I'm like having a hard time, like trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my kids. You know, my youngest son is only 3 months old, and given, I understand I still have to like have experience, but at what point do medical schools see that you're, doing everything that you can with what time you have?
But again, you have 0 clinical experience, 0 shadowing. If you had 10 hours of shadowing and 10 hours of clinical experience, it would be a completely different story. And yes, you can count your clinical experience taking care of your husband, but the fact that it's your husband and it's personal caretaking, it weighs a lot less typically than clinical experience with other people. Yes, you can count it, but I wouldn't lean on that as your main clinical experience. I want to be a doctor so I can take care of people like my husband.
So what would you say if I maybe included that clinical experience and set my projected dates to begin my shadowing and begin my clinical experience? Because I do plan on starting that this summer.
Future stuff on AMCAS, unfortunately.
Oh, you cannot? Okay.
TMDSAS you can if you're applying there.
I do plan on applying there.
Yeah. So TMDSAS, you can have future activities listed there. It's up to you. Okay. It's a gamble. I typically am very conservative when it comes to telling people like I'm comfortable with you applying. Like I don't have any like big reservations, but I see it day in and day out. 520 MCATs, 4.0 GPAs, 0 clinical experience, 0 shadowing, have no ability to give a solid reason why they want to be a doctor. Let me ask you, why do you want to be a doctor?
Because I feel like I can make a difference in patient care. Being in the military,
but why patient care? Why
because I received really awful patient care while I was in the military.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Just like the other question, right? The other student have. You are on this mission. It's a grudge that you're holding, right? It's a revenge match. Like I am going to go to medical school to prove to that dickhead doctor that I am better than they are.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I would.
No, but that's exactly what you just told me.
But my perspective, I mean, I look at it completely different than what you just said. I just feel like because I got that experience, I feel like maybe I can make it a change for other people so that they don't have to go through the same thing.
To prove that you are better than that other doctor.
Not that I'm better than them, but that other people won't suffer the way I did having to deal with other
To
things.
prove that you are better than that doctor. And that's the problem. That's how it comes across, always.
Okay. Well, I guess that's that.
At the end of the day, it's your decision. I have big reservations. Right? As a mom of four kids.
Yes.
As a wife, taking care of your husband, hopefully he's better now. You can get 5 hours a month, and over the course of 12 months, that's 60 hours. Nobody's asking you to quit your full-time job and go get a full-time clinical experience. You just need something to lean on other than, I was treated poorly. I want to treat other people better and prove that I'm better than this doctor. And that's my hypothesis. I haven't tested the hypothesis, but I'm basing everything off of that.
I understand.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm telling you, people, the biggest mistake I see day in and day out is not testing your hypothesis. All of you are on this journey because your hypothesis is, I want to be a doctor. I will enjoy clinical experience. I will enjoy taking care of people. But so many of you get to this point. You've done all of the hard work in your classes. You've taken the MCAT. You're filling out your application, and you haven't tested the hypothesis. Right? It's a scientific method in everything in life. And so when you get to this point, it's like submitting an article to a journal going, here's my idea for how we're going to cure cancer. I haven't really tested anything, but here's my article. Because I had a family member die of cancer, and I don't want that to happen to anyone else. Here's my article, how we're going to cure cancer. Haven't tested anything. Haven't done any studies. Haven't looked at any data. Right? It's a mistake in my mind. Sasha.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Hi, I just want to thank you for all your resources that you've provided. It's really, really enlightened me. My question is related to the MCAT. So I booked my exam for September, and today I sat down to do a full-length practice exam. And like 13 minutes into the exam, I closed the laptop. I was like, I can't do this. I freaked out. I was looking at the content and the questions, the way they were worded, and I felt like
pause for 1 second. Are you applying this year or next year?
Next year.
Okay.
So I'm applying for the 2023 cycle.
So reschedule your exam till March or April next year. And why are you in a rush to take it?
So I wanted to take it in September so that if let's say I didn't get the score I wanted, I would take it again in January.
Okay.
So that was like my plan B, even though we don't do plan Bs, but that was like my little.
No, that's a decent plan B.
Yeah. So that's my
plan B in my mind is I'm gonna go take the MCAT. Oh, never mind. I'm gonna go take the GRE and go to business school.
Yeah, but yeah. So that was my goal, and I just don't know how to get over like the fear I have or the nervousness. I can't. It just feels like the undergrad, like everything that I went through. It's not in my brain anymore.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be there. At some point, you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Right, and so it was a half-length diagnostic that you were taking.
I was gonna take the double AMC full length that they have.
Yeah, don't take that.
Okay.
Go take Blueprint's half-length diagnostic.
Yeah, I'm just taking that on Wednesday.
Yeah, take that.
Yeah.
It's less scary because it's only half. Don't take a full length. Like that's saying I want to go run a marathon. I'm going to start by running 26 miles and then I'll go back down to 2 miles and 1 mile and 3 miles.
Okay.
Right? Take a half-length diagnostic and understand that you're going to do terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a reflection of how you're going to do in a couple months. It's a reflection of being completely unprepared for a test that you should be completely unprepared for.
Okay.
Set your expectations lower for your diagnostic.
Okay.
And use it as a guide for where you need to go next.
Okay. And then when I'm actually studying, would you say go more heavy on the actual exam, like the practice exams, or do content review as well? Like go equal, half and half, or do 60-40?
It depends on where you stand. If you take your diagnostic, a half-length diagnostic, and you get like a 480, then that probably tells you you're missing a lot of content. If you score kind of average for mid 490s for a diagnostic, then you're probably okay with content, and you need to obviously relearn some things and then get better at test strategy. The MCAT is a strategy test. It's a reading comprehension test that really challenges your ability to read the question, read the passages, understand what they're asking, and be able to come to a conclusion, to get an answer. And so where most students go wrong is they spend way too much time doing content review, and then they don't understand how the test works. And so I like doing a mix of both, where you are using full-length exams and UWorld QBank. If you can swing UWorld is phenomenal. Students love it. Use that to drive your content review. So you're doing a full-length exam. You're taking typically a day or two to actually review that full-length exam, and then you're driving that review, or you're using that review to drive your content review for the next couple of days before you jump into another full-length exam.
Okay.
Got it?
I got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Daniel.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so basically I just had a question. With COVID, it's very hard to get, actual shadowing. So that's why I'm doing this. And I kind of just had a question, will medical schools hold that against you if you don't have any kind of clinical experience, just because it's so hard to try and get it? Because, hospitals don't want any extra people around from what
So this was the same conversation I was just having with the other student. There's a difference between not having clinical experience in shadowing during COVID and not having clinical experience in shadowing, period. When are you applying to medical school?
I'm applying in 2023.
You have plenty of time to get more experience. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, and also I just, kind of had a question, you're talking about, people who haven't tested the hypothesis, because they haven't, actually like kind of gotten that kind of clinical experience. I volunteer at this like nonprofit organization called Project Care, where they sort medical supplies and send it to different countries. And, I was coming with that could like extrapolate kind of like just to kind of like a passion for medicine in general.
No.
No.
That's a passion for logistics and supply chain.
Okay, just because it's medical supplies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's just in the future, I guess there'll be more opportunities to try and get it.
Plenty of time. The U.S. is opening back up. Right, we had 7,000 cases yesterday. Phenomenal. It hasn't been that low since like a week into COVID. Yes, it was a Sunday, but no other Sunday has been that low since March of last year. And so hospitals are opening back up. Clinics are opening back up. Just start emailing, start phone calling, start asking your network. Do whatever you can do. And you're applying in 2023. You have plenty of time.
Actually, I'm sorry. I got my date. That's when I'm graduating college. I'm actually applying like 2022 of
so you have
spring.
a year. Yeah.
I have a year. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Get her done. All right. Tatiana.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, hi. So I've tried this so many times, like keep pressing the wrong button. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, if you hear any noise, that's just my son making noise. So I have a question about, so I'm a very non-traditional student, and I was a previous matriculant back in Russia. So in Russia, you go to medical school straight out of high school. It's a 6-year program.
As it is in most of the world, except the U.S.
Exactly. So, and then I completed 4 years, which includes the preclinical and clinical rotations.
Okay.
And I am putting my clinical rotations as shadowing, but I don't have like the names of doctors because first of all, there was many doctors and it was like 10 years ago. I don't remember any.
Yeah.
anyone. And I have my most recent, I have my job as a medical assistant, and I'm splitting it between clinical and shadowing.
Yep. So what I would do is have one shadowing experience and list all of the hours, and then put your current job person as the contact. But then in the description box, it'll have the hours that you're counting from your prior schooling.
Okay, so that's what I was gonna do. I was wondering if it's gonna look weird that I don't have any names for all those specialties that. Okay, because I had like general surgery, obstetrics, and dermatology, and pretty much most of the specialties that I covered.
Yeah.
Okay. And then another thing. Okay, I'm almost ready to submit. I'm proofreading my MCAT application, and it's freaking me out every time I read that. Like, I feel like there's something I need to change.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I am gonna finish that. But
I'll tell you and everyone here. There was a great quote that I heard a while ago that great art is never finished. It only stops in interesting places. So you can nitpick your essays till the cows come home, but at some point you have to be okay with pushing them out into the world.
Yeah, that's what me and my husband, who is pretty much my editor, that's what we're doing because I cannot handle this anymore. I still have a lot of secondaries to rewrite.
Yeah.
So real quick question about personal statement. So since I have such a non-traditional experience, I had to kind of frame all my experiences that I've used from a personal statement in a sense that would make sense to the American people. Because, I didn't explore medicine when I got into medical school. I was like 17 years old.
Yep.
I went straight. But I still have all my experiences as a nurse and as a, and I have my experiences from here at this point. So that should be okay, right?
Yeah.
For that. Okay. So just kind of clarifying on that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for everything. I read your book for the application. It was great. I read the PDF actually before the book came.
Nice. For all of you who do have my book, I would love a review on Amazon if you feel so inclined.
Yes, I will do that once I finish with the applications.
No, do it now. Thanks, Tatiana. Good luck. Amy, hello.
Can you hear me?
I can barely.
Oh, okay. I just have a couple of questions.
You sound very underwater. Can you get closer to a microphone?
Is it funny?
No.
I'm not sure.
That's better.
Okay. So I'm applying this cycle.
Okay.
I have just
next cycle or this cycle?
I'm sorry.
Next cycle or this cycle?
This cycle.
This cycle. Okay.
I am a biology major. I'm graduating in December. It's a semester early for me. I have a 4.0 GPA, and I'm heavily involved in research. That's kind of one of my main elements on my application because I'm applying MD PhD.
Okay.
I was wondering if I should include my research interests in my personal statement, or if I should save that more for the specific essays related to MD PhD.
Something tells me you haven't read any of my books.
So I have listened to all of your online YouTube things, and it all led to saying put it in the separate essay. And personal statement is why you want to be a doctor and not why you want to be a MD PhD.
So why is your question different than all of the advice I've given?
Well, because I feel that in a way, research is one of the reasons why I want to be a doctor as well.
Okay.
So I was just wondering.
It's just against what I typically recommend.
Okay. And then my other question was, you talk about the seed. And I have a couple of different things that I think could be potential seeds for me in starting medicine. But one of them was related to personal experience with my family and surgeries and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And another one was related to meeting Dr. Ben Carson, the neurosurgeon, in my teenage years. So I'm
the
torn.
neurosurgeon turned politician.
Right. So I'm also torn as to how to incorporate all of my seeds and put that together. Rather, should I take the personal route as in how it impacted my family, or the neurosurgery route?
I would do personal.
Okay.
Meeting someone isn't super impactful. Yeah,
Right.
it's exciting, but it's
Right.
like I met Harrison Ford. I want to be an actor. It's just
Right.
yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's my main two things. Do you have any advice against writing a disadvantaged essay?
Against writing it, if you
Yeah.
have no reason for why you are disadvantaged, then yeah.
Okay.
I talk about all of this in the Premed Playbook Guide to the Medical School Application Process. Like, there's a whole chapter on where is it? Disadvantaged status essay. There's a whole chapter on it. Check it out.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Seriously, guys, $17. Go get it. I make like $1. I make like $1 on the books. I don't do it to make money. I do it so that you guys have the answers to almost all of your questions. Abdullah.
Hi.
Hello.
I have a question about since I'm like 13, how do I
13? What's going on?
My mom just signed me up because like I want to become a doctor, and she
That's
also
awesome.
Yeah. So what do I have to do from now to become a doctor in the future?
Yeah. What you should be doing at 13 years old is trying to explore everything in life. You should be going out and I don't know if you were on earlier when I said test the hypothesis. So your hypothesis, meaning your guess, is that I want to be a doctor. And now what you should do is test that hypothesis. And maybe you realize that you don't want to be a doctor, and that's okay. Right now, there's not a lot that you need to be doing. You need to learn how to be a good human being. You need to learn how to be a good friend. You need to learn how to be a good son or daughter or whatever. You just need to learn how to be a good person in this world and explore healthcare as much or as little as you want at this point. I didn't know anything about what I wanted to do at 13 years old, other than I wanted to be a professional baseball player. So learn how to be a good student at this point. Just work on study habits and everything else. Just go enjoy your life.
Oh, okay, thanks.
That's it. Have fun and keep coming and hanging out with us. We'll get you going where you need to go.
Okay.
All right, Abdullah. Say thanks to your mom for signing you up for this.
Thanks. And yeah, sure. I'll say thanks to my mom when it's done. So like, do you just like leave? How do I leave?
Oh, I'll kick you out. Don't worry.
Oh.
I give the boot. Thanks, Abdullah. Zach, hello.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
I can.
All right, so I have sort of a strange situation going on.
Okay.
My parents have a restaurant in Denver, and
Sweet,
there was
free food. Where is it? I'm going.
It's on Quebec and Colfax.
Nice. What kind of food?
Chicken wings and catfish and all kinds of stuff.
Chicken wing, again, bologna. Nice. Has that song increased their business?
I don't think so. Surprisingly,
they need to capitalize on that song and use it in some kind of marketing. But anyway, they need to get on TikTok and use that sound to market their business. But anyway,
not a bad idea.
Of course, it's not a bad idea. I love marketing. This is what I live for. All right, let's go.
So basically, there was a incident we had there where I refused to give this guy a refund after he had eaten his food, and he actually hit me and pushed me down. And so I threw something at him and then chased him out of the store. And somebody had recorded that, and I ended up with a felony menacing charge.
Ouch.
And right now I'm working on getting a pardon, as well as it's in the appeal courts.
Yeah.
But my question, I can't seem to find an answer anywhere
Yep.
on it. Do you think I have any hope? Because I I mean, I have a 3.3. It's not the best. I have a 509 MCAT. I have like shadowing experience.
You have
My
clinical
only
experience?
with Dr. Woolcott. She's an orthopedic surgeon. She actually did my ACL surgery.
Nice.
And that was part of the inspiration for.
I lost your sound. Whatever you're doing, you went away.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, she was a part of the inspiration for wanting to go be a doctor. I thought the surgery was like fascinating, but
you have clinical experience interacting with patients.
Yes, sort of. I shadowed her in the OR, and then in her
shadowing is not clinical experience.
Oh, I see. What would you?
This is my point for all of you watching here. So many students get to this point. When are you planning on applying? It sounds like you're ready to apply now.
Yeah,
your GPA, your MCAT all worked out. So many students get to this point and go, I want to be a doctor. I don't have any experience with patients. I've shadowed a little bit, but I want to be a doctor. And you haven't tested the hypothesis. Right?
Yeah,
just because you liked hanging out with an orthopod and the OR is super exciting, which I agree. Right? That's what I wanted to do when I went through this process, when I was in your shoes, in your timeline. But you also have to test the theory that you like being around patients and taking care of patients and dealing with their junk. And when it comes to talking about why you want to be a doctor, what are you going to say? I want to be a doctor because I got an injury. I really enjoyed how the doctor took care of me. And that's it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So I guess, the main thing I was debating was whether or not to apply now or wait and see how all of this turns out and apply 2023. And then also maybe get some more shadowing and
clinical experience.
Yeah.
Clinical.
So when you say clinical what is exactly the difference?
With patients. And it doesn't have to mean like actually doing something to them. So you could be an EMT. That's definitely clinical experience. You're taking care of patients, right? Some EMT is just transport, but you're taking care of patients. You could be a phlebotomist. You could be a medical assistant. If you're here in Colorado, you don't have to have any sort of certificate to be a medical assistant. So you could call around to some private family practice offices or orthopedic offices or whatever and go, hey, I'm a pre-med student. I would love to get some clinical experience and work as a medical assistant, and you can get on-the-job training. Colorado is a state that doesn't require a certificate to be a medical assistant. So check your state if you're in other states, but it sounds like you're here in Colorado. So you could be EMT, CNA, phlebotomist, medical assistant. You can do scribing work at a hospital or a clinic or wherever. It's direct patient interaction. Again, it doesn't have to be directly doing things to the patient, like actually doing procedures and stuff, but it's what we used to say is close enough to smell the patient. Right. And a lot of people don't really understand what that means too, because they're like, well, I work at the front desk. I talk to the patients. No, that's admin work. Right. So behavioral health technician, definitely clinical experience. So
I think my final question is, I'm pretty sure that this whole like felony business will not be an issue by 2023 application cycle.
Okay.
But say it is, have you heard of any success with that, or maybe even some states where it is easier to get accepted with that, something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't interact with enough students who have felonies on their records. I would go and listen to, if you haven't yet, 2 interviews that I did actually with my uncle-in-law. He's a lawyer. Let me try to find. So he's a lawyer and he deals a lot with physicians who have medical license issues for one reason or another. And so he's been on my podcast twice. It was episode 197, premedyears.com/197. and pre-med years 399. I've had them on twice, talking about kind of what these questions look like, what you should be talking about, even if you do get pardoned, but like, do you still have to answer yes and then talk about that? Just all that kind of stuff. So I would go listen to those podcast episodes.
Great. Sounds good. The clinical experience was super insightful. And if you're ever on like Colfax in Quebec, come get some chicken wings.
What's it called?
It's called Buffalo Bill's Wings and Things. We actually have one in Capitol Hill too.
Nice. Buffalo Bill's Wings and Things. I love it. And talk to your parents. Like that chicken wing, hot dog and bologna song on TikTok. You need to start a TikTok if you guys haven't already.
Yeah, we haven't. That's a great idea.
Do it up. All right, Zach, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, now I'm hungry for chicken wings. I gotta go have a boring salad. Get rid of this COVID-20 that I gained. All right, folks. Well, I'm sorry that we didn't have fancy ENT surgical oncology doc here with us tonight, but hopefully I gave you some insight. Thank you all for being here, hanging out. There still will be a quiz to this, but it'll be just a kind of a yes/no quiz. Nothing you need to remember. So thanks for hanging out with me. If you do have my books, I would appreciate a review on Amazon. I appreciate all of you spending some time with me tonight. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.